Hello, master students. I hope you are healthy and well, having a great summer, and maybe getting just a little bit excited about returning to school. I decided to record a video for you tonight. I was going to get slicked up and presentable, but then I thought, well, they know me well enough to know that I'm not slick and presentable half the time, and you wouldn't have a problem with me just being myself. And new students, you will get to know me soon enough to see that that's true. So this video will not be a slick production, but it's just me hanging out here in my living room, telling you some really important stuff. Let me begin by saying that, listen, we are so excited to see many of you, either on campus or in video conference classes. We just finished meetings at the campus this week, faculty meetings, and then college council, all of our staff, and we are busy preparing to make this a great fall. But I have some very important things to talk with you about. I'm going to highlight 7 items. Not with all the details. We're going to actually provide a document that you can read to fill in the gaps, but I want to just share these 7 details and enough information for you so you're aware of what was going to be expected. So please just watch my mug through this video and then refer to the document for everything that applies to you. Before I get started, I have a question for you. Have you noticed that we are in the middle of a pandemic? Well, I think you probably have. So number 1 is our pandemic response. What is Master's pandemic response? Well, I know that we are all more than ready to see life come back to something close to normal. Well, at Masters, we cannot make guarantees for returning to normal, but we are trying our best to make things as normal as they possibly can be. It's been such a summer of adjustments, but we now have our protocols completed and approved by public health, and now all we really need is you. Let's talk about you. One thing we want you to understand is that the only reason, really the only reason that we are coming back to do school on campus is you. To be honest, it would have been much easier and convenient to just continue with classes online for the next semester and maybe the entire year. However, we listened to your questions and suggestions, and it was very clear that the majority of you wanted to be on campus in Peterborough. And so our entire team has worked hard, and we are now preparing to welcome you. If you pay attention at all to pro sports and the way that they've been trying to come back to play during the COVID season, you'll see that the leagues that have been successful have created a kind of bubble with all players and staff members taking every precaution possible and taking personal responsibility for themselves. The teams that are being cautious have thus far been successful, mostly. Players and teams not being as cautious have compromised their team and their league. We want to make sure that no one is compromised on our campus, and so we are urging all students to come to campus and be very cautious. You're not going to be locked down, but we need you to be self-aware and careful. We realize that you and many of your parents are making a significant investment of time, money, and energy for you to be at the campus. So we need to implement protocols to ensure the safety and the good of everyone, students, faculty, staff, and all of our families. So please pay careful and close attention to a few things that you will have to do. Oh yeah, not just you, but I will have to do them as well. In fact, as will every student and staff member who comes to the campus. The expectations are the same for everyone. So the first thing, there's some documents you'll have to provide. There's 2 documents in particular you'll have to provide before we allow you to come into the campus buildings. The first one is a COVID-19 test that is negative. The second one is a self-isolation plan. So I'm going to take a few minutes to explain those 2 things to you. So first of all, I know you're thinking, what? I need to have a COVID test? Well, yes, and I really honestly don't look forward to doing it myself. However, in order for us to have the best possible assurance that we're able to begin the semester with everyone being negative for COVID-19, we need to make this a requirement. Remember, this is one of the ways you'll protect yourself, me, and the others around you on our campus. We have provided instructions in the document for how you can make plans to have this test done, but let me just quickly tell you this. First of all, you need to find out where asymptomatic testing is happening in your community, and then arrange to have your test done within 4 days of your arrival at the campus. The turnaround for most of these tests has been 48 to 72 hours. Then bring a copy of your test result showing that it's negative in a sealed envelope, and upon arrival at the campus, you will hand this envelope to me, the Dean of Students, or someone who I designate to accept it. This is not going to be information in our office, it's only held by me, the Dean of Students. So that's the COVID test. Not pleasant, but fairly simple and straightforward. The second document you need to bring with you is a self-isolation plan, and this is simply a statement prepared by you with your parents and guardians if applicable, for what you will do should you test positive for COVID-19. If this should happen, and we pray it does not happen at all, you'll be assigned a quarantined area and you'll need to leave the campus within 24 hours of receiving that positive result. I simply need to know what your plan will be in this situation. If you are unsure because you have no options, please connect with me beforehand and I will help you figure out an exit plan or a self-isolation plan. So, in order for you to gain access to the campus buildings, you must arrive with a negative test and a self-isolation plan. First years, your arrival day is Sunday, September 6th, and you should have already booked your appointment time for check-in and move-in, and you'll be sent a customized schedule for when to arrive and when your parents or guardians or your assistants will need to leave the campus. Student leaders will be sending you instructions for the days and times you'll be able to check in and move in. Off-campus upper-class students, you'll be given instructions about accessing the campus on September 14th. It's really important that for your safety and those on campus, you do not come to campus until your designated time on September 14th. In summary, a negative test and a self-isolation plan are required from each student in order to gain entry to the campus buildings. I know this all sounds a bit onerous, but once you're past this point, life on campus should become fairly consistent, and you'll quickly become accustomed to the protocols that we all are required to live by. So that was number one. The other 6 will go by much more quickly. So number 2 is your arrival at campus. So you and up to 2 guests coming onto campus to help you move in must wear a mask. I've told you that you need to bring a test result. However, those who come with you do not. However, they'll be required to complete the online public health self-assessment when they arrive at the campus and before they enter the buildings. Please bring an ample supply of masks with you. 1 complimentary reusable mask will be provided by masters to each student, but please bring your own. Number 3, life at the campus. Daily life at the campus is going to be different only because we have to adhere to COVID-19 restrictions and protocols. We have been getting a few questions, which I will try to address here. Can we use the library? Yes. Will I be able to connect with friends and get to know the first-year students and vice versa? Yes, of course, we want you to. Will there be chapel, and can I go? Yes. Will I have to wear a mask? Yes. Anytime we are in indoor public spaces, we will all have to wear masks. That is simply a public health mandate that we all must adhere to. If you live in residence, you will not have to wear a mask as long as you're physically distanced or with your pod mates, and I'll be talking about pods in a few moments. So, yes is the answer to almost all your questions. Life will be as normal as possible while following distancing and wearing masks when required. When you're with people in your pod, you'll be able to be a little more comfortable and relaxed in that group. So, number 4, pods. What is a pod, you ask? Well, in the first half of the semester, a pod will be comprised of 1 to 2 student leaders and 4 to 5 first-year students. In the second half, upper-class students will be in pods of 6 students. You may have been freaking out just a wee bit by this pod concept. Well, let me put your mind somewhat at ease. This is not a space pod where you're being sent to live on another planet. Being in a pod simply means living in the same area of the residence. Your rooms will be in the same hallway area, using the same washroom facilities, toilet stall, sink, and shower, the same as it is at home unless you have your own private bathroom. In chapel, you'll sit in a group with your pod mates. This simply enables us to not have to all have to sit 2 meters apart all the time. In social activities, you'll be able to be closer than 2 meters with others in your pod while also being with anybody else, but being physically distanced. Remember, this is going to be for 7 weeks. We can all do this and make it through 7 weeks successfully. Number 5 is the cafeteria. Upper-class students, last winter in Muskoka Woods, we talked about changes to the way food is delivered in the cafeteria. There's 2 things I'd like to communicate. First of all, I want to inform or remind you that the cafeteria does not belong to Masters. We lease the buildings that we work in, and part of that lease agreement is that students living in the residence, whether on the Masters side or on the other side, which is leased by Trent University, we are all required to purchase meal plans. We, or Masters, have no control over that. It's simply a way of doing business by the building owners or our landlords. Secondly, this COVID change has caused the cafeteria to lay off staff rather than add staff, so the changes we are asking to be made are simply not possible this year. However, having said that, Student Life will be closely monitoring what is happening daily in the cafeteria, and we are forming a food services committee with 1 to 2 students as members to give regular assessment and suggestions to the cafeteria team. Also, due to COVID restrictions and precautions, the cafeteria is going to serve food as takeout meals for at least the first 2 weeks while we assess how it is going and determine if we can open up the cafeteria for eating in the dining room. I'd just like to ask for your patience as this gets up and going. However, I want you to know that part of my role is to serve you the best I can to making sure your needs are being met. The cafeteria is not a restaurant. It's definitely not home cooking, but we will work together this fall to ensure it's better and the best it can be. Number 6 is residence. As you know, we have made the decision that it's best to have students in single rooms only. So for this semester, there's no roommates. Sad face. Trent University, though, will not be using the West Wing residence, so they have offered us access to those residence floors. So we will be able to house more students than we originally thought. However, we need to stay below a ceiling of numbers required by public health. So that being said, depending on the male-female numbers, you may be housed in the residence on the other side of the building. Those of us faculty who stay 1 to 4 nights a week will also be living in that section in the West Wing. Number 7 is paying for school. To ensure your entrance to college this fall is simpler and smoother, please go to the Master's website where you will find out how to make payment or how to connect with finance counselors to arrange a payment plan. This will also contribute to proper physical distancing and contactless payments. Well, that's it. I'm sorry it was so long. It's 11 minutes already, but thank you so much for your time. I want you to know that we miss you. I know some of you have not had the easiest summer, and we've been praying for you. We're looking forward to seeing you soon. So bless you guys. Oh yeah, and don't forget about that special announcement being released today at noon on Instagram.